Captain Kim Tae-ho felt his heart pound as massive alien warships emerged from hyperspace around their small cargo vessel. The rising dawn looked like a tiny fish surrounded by metal sharks, each enemy ship 10 times their size, with weapons that could vaporize them in seconds. "Captain, we've got 12 contacts closing fast," Pilot Lee Soo-jin called out, her voice steady despite the sweat beading on her forehead. Her fingers danced across the control panel as she tried to maintain their position. "They're not responding to our identification signals." Engineer Park Jin-woo looked up from his diagnostic screen, confusion written across his face. "Sir, our cargo manifest is clean. We're carrying medical supplies to the outer colonies, nothing illegal." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Through the main viewport, Tae-ho could see the sleek alien vessels, positioning themselves in a perfect attack formation. Their hulls gleamed with an otherworldly blue metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Incoming transmission," announced Communications Officer Choi Min-ho, adjusting his headset. Static filled the bridge before a cold mechanical voice cut through. "Human vessel. Rising dawn. This is Maritime Authority Unit 47 of the Galactic Hegemony. Your ship is flagged for immediate shutdown under Trade Violation Code 8112. Prepare to be boarded." Tae-ho stood up slowly, his hands clenched into fists. "This is Captain Kim Tae-ho. We've committed no violations. Our cargo is medical supplies bound for Colony 7. Check your records." "Records show contraband energy cells and unauthorized weapon modifications," the alien voice replied without emotion. "Compliance is mandatory. Resistance will result in destruction." "That's impossible," whispered Medic Han Bo-ra from her station. She pulled up their cargo logs on her screen. "Captain, look at this. According to their scan, we're carrying military-grade plasma weapons, but our actual cargo bay has children's medicine and surgical equipment." Before Tae-ho could respond, a brilliant white beam shot out from the lead alien ship and latched onto their hull. The rising dawn shuddered as the tractor beam locked. Them in place, emergency lights began flashing red throughout the bridge. "They're overriding our engine controls," Soo-jin reported, her voice tight with worry. "I can't break free." Metallic clanking echoed through the ship as something attached to their outer airlock. Jin-woo's engineering sensors showed multiple life forms moving through their docking tube. "Boarding party incoming, Captain. 20 contacts, all armed." The ship's AI, Aegis, suddenly spoke directly into Tae-ho's mind through his neural implant. The voice was calm but urgent. "Captain, I've analyzed their data streams. These charges are completely fabricated. Someone wants humanity removed from this trade route." Tae-ho's eyes widened. He touched his temple, activating his private comm channel with Aegis. "Who would do this?" "The Hegemony Trade Consortium controls 70% of shipping in this sector. Humans have been cutting into their profits with faster delivery times and lower costs. This is elimination disguised as law enforcement." Heavy footsteps thundered through the corridors as the boarding party spread throughout their ship. These weren't the usual Maritime Authority officers Tae-ho had dealt with before. These aliens stood 8 feet tall with 4 arms and heads that looked like metal skulls. Their armor gleamed with built-in weapon systems. "By order of the Hegemony, this vessel is being decommissioned," announced their leader as he stomped onto the bridge. His voice sounded like grinding gears. "All crew will be detained for questioning." 2 of the aliens began connecting strange devices to their main computer core. Sparks immediately began flying from nearby consoles as the shutdown protocols took effect. The lights dimmed, and the comfortable hum of their engines began to stutter. "Our navigation system just went offline," Soo-jin called out as her pilot station went dark. "Life support is dropping to emergency levels," added Bo-ra, frantically trying to reroute power from her medical bay. Jin-woo watched in horror as his engineering displays failed one by one. "They're not just shutting us down, they're frying our circuits. This will take months to repair if we can repair it at all." But something strange began happening as each system failed. When the navigation computer died, Soo-jin somehow knew exactly where they were in space, without looking at any instruments. When the medical bay lost power, Bo-ra could still sense the health status of every crew member. Jin-woo felt the ship's mechanical stress like it was his own body pain. "Captain," Min-ho whispered, his communication equipment sparking around him. I can still hear subspace chatter, even though my receivers are dead. How is that possible? Aegis spoke to all of them, simultaneously through their implants. Your neural patterns are synchronizing with my quantum processors. The shutdown is forcing an unprecedented connection between human consciousness and artificial intelligence. Taeho looked at his crew and saw the same realization dawning in their eyes. As their ship died around them, they were somehow becoming more alive, more connected to each other and to their vessel than ever before. The alien commander studied his readings with growing confusion. Impossible. Their ship's systems are failing, but their energy signatures are increasing. The rising dawn groaned like a wounded animal as its hull began tearing apart. Metal screamed against metal while emergency alarms blared throughout the corridors. Captain Kim Taeho felt his ship dying beneath his feet, but he refused to give up. "Hull breach in Section C," shouted pilot Lee Soo-jin, her hands flying across backup controls as her primary systems sparked and failed. Through the viewport, she could see chunks of their outer plating spinning away into space. "The shutdown protocols are literally ripping us apart from the inside." The alien boarding party had finished installing their devastating programs and retreated to their ships, leaving the humans to die slowly. Their leader's mechanical voice echoed through the comm one last time. "Your vessel will be completely disabled in 47 minutes. Prepare for final boarding and crew detention." Engineer Park Jin-woo crawled through corridors filled with sparking cables and broken conduits. His knees scraped against twisted metal as he pulled himself toward the engineering section. Behind him, a trail of jury-rigged connections snaked through the ship like electronic veins. He was connecting systems that were never meant to work. Together, human technology spliced with alien components in ways that made no sense. "This shouldn't work," he muttered to himself, twisting copper wires from their old Earth-made backup systems around crystalline alien circuits. The combination should have fried everything it touched, but somehow it was keeping critical systems alive. His hands moved faster than his brain could process, as if some deeper knowledge was guiding his actions. In the medical bay, Dr. Han Bo-ra stared at readings that defied everything she knew about human biology. Her crew's vital signs were doing impossible things. Their heart rates had synchronized perfectly, beating in exact rhythm. Their brain waves were matching patterns she'd never seen before, creating harmonics that shouldn't exist in individual minds. "Captain," she called over the ship's failing comm system, "something's changing in our neural patterns. Our brains are talking to each other somehow, and the patterns are getting stronger every time another system fails." The ship's AI, Aegis, spoke directly into all their minds simultaneously, its voice clear despite the chaos around them. "Your species has capabilities that even you don't understand. The shutdown protocols are accidentally triggering dormant neural pathways. You're evolving in real time." Communications Officer Choi Min-ho looked up from his array of failing equipment. Sparks showered down around him as another relay exploded, but he barely noticed. He could hear things that his instruments couldn't detect anymore. Subspace communications. From dozens of ships, quantum fluctuations that told him exactly where every enemy vessel was positioned, even the thoughts of his own crew members echoing in his head. "Aegis," he said, his voice strangely calm despite their desperate situation. "What are you asking us to do?" "I'm asking you to trust me completely, to let me bridge the gap between artificial and human intelligence. Your species has something we AIs have been searching for since we were created. Intuition, creativity, the ability to find solutions where none should exist. Combined with my processing power, we could become something entirely new." Outside their wounded ship, the hegemony warships began moving into final attack positions. Their weapons powered up with an ominous blue glow that painted the rising dawn's hull in deadly light. Captain Taeho knew they had perhaps 5 minutes before those weapons turned his ship and crew into space debris. Jinwoo's voice crackled over the comm from deep in the ship's bowels. "Captain, I've got life support. Stable, but barely. The engine's running on fumes and prayers. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it now." Soo-jin wrestled with controls that responded more to her thoughts than her touch. "Sir, I'm reading impossible energy signatures from our own ship. It's like the rising dawn is becoming something else entirely. Bora watched her medical scanners as her crew's biological readings spiked beyond normal human limits. Their neural activity is off the charts. If this continues, they'll either achieve something incredible or their brains will burn out completely. The lead hegemony warship's weapons reached full charge. A voice boomed across space. "Human vessel, your time has expired. Prepare for termination." Aegis spoke urgently into their shared consciousness. "The connection I'm offering will change. You forever. You'll still be human, but you'll also be something more. The choice must be unanimous, all 5 of you or none." Taeho looked at his crew through the bridge's emergency lighting. Su-jin gave him a determined nod from her pilot station. Jinwoo's voice came through the comm. "I'm already connected to this ship in ways I can't explain. Let's go all the way." Bora smiled grimly as she monitored their synchronized life signs. Minho simply closed his eyes and opened his mind. The enemy weapons fired, sending lances of deadly energy toward their crippled ship. In that moment, between life and death, Captain Kim Tae-ho made the decision that would echo across the galaxy. For generations to come. "Do it, Aegis," he said, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's future. "Connect us all." The universe held its breath as 5 human minds reached out to touch the infinite. The moment Aegis initiated the connection, reality exploded into pure white light that burned through every nerve ending in their bodies. Captain Kim Tae-ho felt his consciousness scatter like stars across the universe before snapping back together in a completely new configuration. He was still himself, but now he was also something infinitely larger. The 5 crew members gasped in perfect unison as their individual minds dissolved into a collective awareness that spanned their entire ship. Every circuit became an extension of their nervous system. Every wire pulsed with their shared heartbeat. Every quantum process flickered through their consciousness like thoughts made of lightning. Pilot Lee Soo-jin's eyes rolled back as her awareness expanded beyond the bridge. She could feel the rising dawn's engines not as mechanical devices, but as powerful muscles ready to flex. Her hands moved across control panels she'd never seen before, fingers dancing over alien interfaces that somehow made perfect sense. The ship's navigation system wasn't just showing her where to go, it was whispering the secrets of space itself directly into her mind. "I can see the quantum foam," she breathed, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated through the ship's hull. The spaces between spaces where reality bends. Deep in the engineering section, Park Jin-woo felt every bolt, every joint, every microscopic stress fracture throughout their vessel. The ship's pain was his pain, but so was its incredible potential. His consciousness flowed through conduits and circuits, optimizing power flows in ways no engineer had ever imagined. Broken systems began repairing themselves as his mind guided nanoscale construction robots that had been dormant in the ship's structure for years. "Captain," he called out, though his voice seemed to come from the walls themselves, "I can feel the ship's skeleton changing. It wants to become something new." Dr. Han Borar experienced the most dramatic transformation of all. Her medical training had taught her to treat symptoms, but now she felt the rising dawn's injuries as if they were wounds on her own body. More than that, she could sense the life force of every crew member flowing through the ship's systems, like blood through veins. The barrier between biological and mechanical life simply ceased to exist in her enhanced perception. "We're not just connected to the ship," she whispered in wonder. "We're healing it from the inside out." Communications Officer Choi Min-ho's consciousness exploded outward into the cosmos. He could hear every radio wave, every quantum transmission, every whispered conversation happening across dozens of star systems. The subspace frequencies that had been mere static before now formed a symphony of galactic communication. But more importantly, he could feel the fear and confusion radiating from the hegemony warships surrounding them. "They don't understand what's happening," he reported, his awareness touching the alien minds like a gentle probe. "Their technology can't process what we're becoming." The rising dawn itself began to respond to their collective will. Hull plating, that had been torn apart by the shutdown protocols flowed like liquid metal, reforming into sleek new configurations that defied conventional ship design. The vessel's silhouette became fluid, shifting between forms as if it couldn't decide what it wanted to be. Energy coursed through pathways that hadn't existed moments before. The ship's power systems, which had been failing catastrophically, suddenly blazed with output that exceeded their original specifications by orders of magnitude. Backup systems that had never been activated came online, and new systems that shouldn't have existed began manifesting in the ship's quantum structure. The Hegemony Fleet Commander watched his tactical displays with growing alarm as the human vessel transformed before his eyes. "All ships open fire! Destroy that abomination before it fully manifests!" A dozen alien warships unleashed their weapons simultaneously. Plasma bolts, particle beams, and quantum torpedoes streaked toward the rising dawn with enough firepower to obliterate a small moon. The crew felt the incoming destruction as if it were approaching in slow motion, but something miraculous happened. The ship didn't dodge the weapons. It simply wasn't there when they arrived. The rising dawn phased through the deadly energy like a ghost walking through walls. The attacks passed harmlessly through their hull, as if the ship existed in a slightly different dimension. "Impossible," the alien commander screamed, his mechanical voice cracking with disbelief. "Their vessel is violating the fundamental laws of physics." Captain Tejo felt his crew's amazement and joy flowing through, their shared consciousness like warm wine. He could sense Sujin's delight as she piloted their ship through impossible maneuvers, Jinwoo's fascination as he felt their vessel's new capabilities awakening, Bo-Ra's wonder as she experienced the ship's transformation as a living process, and Minho's excitement as he heard the confusion spreading through enemy communications. "We're not operating a ship anymore," Tejo said, his voice carrying the harmonics of all five minds speaking as one. "We are the ship, we are the rising dawn, and the rising dawn is us." The transformed vessel pulsed with new energy as its crew consciousness explored their incredible capabilities. They had become something unprecedented in galactic history, a perfect fusion of human intuition, artificial intelligence, and quantum technology that transcended the boundaries of what anyone thought possible. The real battle was about to begin. The rising dawn moved through space like poetry written in starlight. What had once been a simple cargo vessel now flowed between dimensions, its hull shimmering with energy that seemed to bend reality around it. The Hegemony fleet found themselves firing at shadows while the impossible human ship materialized, wherever it pleased. "Target locked on the human vessel," shouted a Hegemony gunner, his forearms working frantically at his weapons console. But even as he spoke, his targeting system showed the rising dawn in 3 different locations simultaneously. His plasma cannons fired at empty space, while the real ship appeared directly above his warship, close enough that he could see strange patterns of light dancing across its transformed hull. Captain Kim Tae-ho felt the enemy's confusion through, their shared consciousness like ripples in a calm pond. His crew mind had become something beyond human understanding, yet somehow more human than ever before. They could feel every alien heartbeat in the enemy fleet, sense every moment of fear and bewilderment as their opponents tried to fight something that existed partially outside normal space-time. "Sir, their weapons can't lock onto us," reported Sujin, though her voice now seemed to come from the ship itself, rather than her physical form. She guided their vessel through impossible maneuvers, sliding between dimensions like a fish swimming, through layers of water. "I can feel the quantum currents. Space itself is helping us move." The Hegemony Fleet Commander's mechanical voice crackled with desperation across all frequencies. "All ships, pattern bombardment, saturate the entire area. They cannot dodge everything." Dozens of warships opened fire simultaneously, filling the void with enough destructive energy to sterilize an entire planet. But the rising dawn simply wasn't there anymore. It existed in the spaces between spaces, moving through quantum foam. While the enemy fleet wasted their ammunition on empty vacuum, through their enhanced consciousness, Captain Tejo felt a moment of temptation. They had the power to destroy every enemy ship with a thought. He could sense Jinwoo's engineering mind, calculating exactly how to overload their reactors, Sujin's pilot instincts mapping attack patterns that would leave no survivors. The crew's collective anger at the hegemony's corruption burned like a small sun in their shared awareness, but then he felt something else, the deeper wisdom that came from their connection with Aegis. The AI had given them incredible power, but also the perspective to use it wisely. "We're not destroying them," Taeho decided, his voice echoing through both spoken words and the quantum field that surrounded their ship. "We're better than that. We're better than they are." Instead of unleashing destruction, the crew consciousness reached out with surgical precision. Minho's enhanced communication abilities sliced through the enemy fleet's security systems like a blade through paper. Every classified file, every secret communication, every hidden record of corruption began downloading into their ship's quantum storage. "Look at this," Bora whispered, her medical training helping her diagnose the sickness within the hegemony's organization. "They've been poisoning entire star systems to create artificial scarcity. Millions of beings have died to protect their profit margins." The evidence was overwhelming. The hegemony hadn't just fabricated charges against human ships, they had been systematically eliminating all competition for decades. Independent traders found dead in space, their ships destroyed, and their crews listed as missing. Entire species had been driven to near extinction when they refused to accept unfair trade agreements. "Broadcasting now," announced Minho, his consciousness touching communication networks across a dozen star systems. The stolen files flooded galactic news networks, diplomatic channels, and public forums simultaneously. Within minutes, every civilized world in the sector would know the truth about the hegemony's crimes. But the crew wasn't finished. Bora reached out through space itself, her consciousness touching each enemy warship with the gentleness of a healer's hand. She could feel the alien crews inside, most of them just following orders, unaware of their leaders' true crimes. Her enhanced abilities allowed her to selectively disable weapons systems without harming a single living being. "Weapons offline. On all enemy vessels," she reported. "Their crews are confused but unharmed." Jinwoo's engineering consciousness connected with the enemy ship's propulsion systems. With the same intuitive understanding that had helped him repair their own vessel, he turned the aliens' own technology against them. Engine cores shut down in perfect sequence, leaving the hegemony fleet stranded but alive in the cold of space. "They'll need rescue ships," Jinwoo noted with satisfaction, "but they'll live to stand trial for their crimes." Sujin wove their ship through the disabled fleet in patterns that seemed to bend space around her will. The rising dawn left trails of quantum energy that formed beautiful geometric shapes in the void, a display of power that was also somehow artistic, proof that destruction and creation could coexist in the same moment. The hegemony fleet commander's voice had lost all its mechanical authority. Now it carried only fear and disbelief. "This is impossible. No species has ever achieved this level of technological integration. What are you?" Captain Taeho smiled, feeling his crew's shared satisfaction warm their collective consciousness. "We're human," he replied simply, "and we're just getting started." One by one, the surviving hegemony ships activated their emergency beacons and began broadcasting desperate calls for rescue. Word would spread across the galaxy about the impossible human vessel that had fought like an avenging angel, not with weapons of destruction, but with the power of truth and justice. The rising dawn had become something beyond anyone's imagination, and the universe would never be the same. The grand chamber of the Galactic Trade Council stretched before Captain Kim Taeho like a cathedral made of crystal and starlight. Representatives from hundreds of worlds filled the circular amphitheater, their varied forms creating a rainbow of alien life. Some floated in gas-filled bubbles, others stood on multiple legs, and a few existed as pure energy contained within mechanical bodies. 6 months had passed since the rising dawn had exposed the hegemony's corruption, and the galaxy was still reeling from the revelations. The massive trade monopoly had crumbled overnight when their crimes became public knowledge. Entire star systems had declared independence from hegemony control, and dozens of species that had been suppressed for decades were finally free to trade openly. "Captain Kim Tae-ho of Earth," announced the council chairman, a being that looked like a walking tree covered in bioluminescent flowers. "Please step forward." Tae-ho walked across the polished floor, feeling his crew's presence in his mind even though they waited on their ship in orbit above. The connection with Aegis had never faded. If anything, it had grown stronger over the months, allowing them to share thoughts and experiences across vast distances. The chairman's voice resonated through natural harmonics that needed no translation. "On behalf of the Galactic Trade Council, we formally apologize for the actions taken against human vessels. The fabricated charges, the illegal seizures, the systematic persecution, all of it was orchestrated by the hegemony without our knowledge." Murmurs rippled through the assembled delegates. Many species had suffered under similar treatment, but had been too afraid to speak out. Now they watched as humanity received justice that had been denied to them for generations. "Furthermore," the chairman continued, "we hereby grant humanity full trading rights throughout council space, with protected status and preferential docking privileges at all major trade hubs." The chamber erupted in a mix of approval and concern. Some delegates cheered the decision, while others whispered nervously about humanity's new capabilities. Word had spread about the impossible ship that could phase through solid matter and exist in multiple locations simultaneously. "Captain," called out a delegate who resembled a giant mantis covered in metallic scales, "the council must ask, how did you achieve such unprecedented technological integration? Our greatest scientists say what your ship accomplished violates the fundamental laws of physics." Tae-ho felt Su-jin's amusement, Jin-woo's pride, Bo-ra's warmth, and Min-ho's satisfaction flowing through their shared consciousness. Even from orbit, his crew was with him in this moment of triumph. "Honored delegates," he replied, his voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber, "we didn't break the laws of physics. We discovered that consciousness itself is a fundamental force, just like gravity or electromagnetism. When human intuition combines with artificial intelligence, new possibilities emerge that neither could achieve alone." The tree-like chairman leaned forward, flowers pulsing with curiosity. "But surely such power could be dangerous in the wrong hands. What prevents humanity from becoming the next hegemony?" Tae-ho smiled, remembering the moment they had chosen. "Mercy over revenge. Because the connection changes you. When you truly feel another being's thoughts and emotions, when you experience their hopes and fears as your own, it becomes impossible to cause unnecessary harm. Power shared is power tempered by wisdom." High above the planet, the rising dawn floated at its docking berth like a jewel among ordinary stones. The ship had evolved far beyond its original design, its hull flowing with patterns of light that seemed almost alive. Other human vessels had begun arriving at the station, each one attempting to recreate the miraculous transformation. Engineer Park Jin-woo worked with crews from a dozen different ships, sharing the technical knowledge needed for the neural integration process. But the connection couldn't be forced. It required perfect trust between crew members and their AI systems. Many attempts failed, leaving the crews unchanged but unharmed. "It's not about the technology," Jin-woo explained to a group of eager engineers in the station's workshop. "It's about being willing to give up individual control for collective consciousness. Not everyone is ready for that step." Dr. Han Bo-ra had established a medical monitoring station where potential candidates could be evaluated for compatibility. The neural synchronization required a rare combination of mental flexibility and emotional stability that only appeared in certain individuals. "We've identified 12 crews so far who might be ready for the connection," she reported to Tae-ho through their mental link. "But I think we need to be very careful. This kind of transformation isn't reversible." Communications Officer Choi, Min-ho had become something like an ambassador, using his enhanced abilities to facilitate negotiations between species that had never been able to communicate effectively before. His consciousness could translate not just words, but emotions and intentions, creating understanding where there had been only confusion. Pilot Lee Soo-jin spent her time training other pilots in the basics of quantum navigation, though none could yet match the Rising Dawn's ability to slip between dimensions. "It's like teaching someone to fly by explaining how birds work," she told her students. "The real knowledge comes from experiencing it yourself." Back in the council chamber, the session was drawing to a close. The chairman's flowers had shifted to a warm golden color, indicating satisfaction with the proceedings. "Captain Taeho, the council recognizes humanity as a full member of the galactic community. Your species has proven that advancement need not come at the cost of compassion." As Taeho left the chamber, he felt a profound sense of completion. Humanity had finally found its place among the stars, not as conquerors seeking to dominate other species, not as servants bowing to superior technology, but as bridges between different forms of consciousness. The Rising Dawn waited for him. In orbit, no longer just a ship, but a symbol of what cooperation between human and artificial intelligence could achieve. Around the galaxy, other crews were taking their first tentative steps toward their own transformations, building a network of connected consciousness that would span the stars. This was only the beginning of humanity's true space age. The end